It is not about any one person. If the voters conclude that you're putting your own ego or your own grudges ahead of what's good for the country, they're going to look elsewhere, period.
I'm ready for a generational change in my party. Ron DeSantis be a great president. Tim Scott make a great president. Nikki Haley make a great president. Mike Pompeo, Mike Pence, go down the list. They're all in my generation.
But if he's the nominee, you'd have to. You wouldn't.
I think he's the only Republican who could lose, Joe.
So going into 2024, the Republicans are going to be looking for candidates who are focused on winning, not just making a point or settling a score.
What is his vision for 2024? Is it, I'm back? Because that's not a vision to me. It needs to be more than, I'm back. Trump needs to take a good look in the mirror, and he needs to take a good look in the room, and he needs to read the room accurately.
All over the country,
Yes.
There's a very high correlation between MAGA candidates and big losses,
Yeah,
or at least dramatically underperforming.
The Republicans bought the ticket, and they're going to take this ride again. And what Donald Trump is signaling by his meltdown down in Mar-a-Lago over the last 12 hours is that he's prepared to burn it all down, that they may be done with him, but he is not done with them.
I'm looking at the rest of the team, and you know who the leader of the rest of the team is, and the rest of the team didn't do well tonight. We're barely, it looks like the Republicans will barely take the House.
Some of the Trump-backed candidates really struggled, and some of it had to do with the election denialism. I wrote an open letter to Donald Trump this morning on my Substack that, sorry, Kayleigh, it says, please, Mr. President, don't run again.
Brigadier General Patrick Ryder, the Pentagon's top spokesman, decided to lead the briefing with a statement about these reports, and here's what he had to say.
And when it comes to force protection, we always take the safety and security of our troops, no matter where they're serving, very seriously. And so we're very confident in any force protection measures that we take, whether it be Poland or elsewhere. But again, we're not going to get ahead of ourselves here. We're going to get the facts, and when we have more to provide, we will. Thank you.
Because, as he said, this was information that was coming in near the top of this briefing that just concluded. And when he said at the top of this briefing, what he said was essentially, we are aware of the information, we are trying to corroborate it, but we don't have any information at this time. Obviously, there's something that is very significant. A situation like this opens up a host of scenarios, and obviously those are the questions that Ryder was asked repeatedly by Pentagon reporters. They were asking about Article 5. That's the language inside the NATO compact, the treaty that allows that if one country is attacked by somebody else, then the entire alliance can respond. So obviously, deep concern here at the Pentagon, deep concerns, I think, all over Washington and probably all over Western Europe right now, as officials in Poland are meeting on this, trying to ascertain exactly what has happened and whether these unconfirmed reports are accurate.
Andrea, again, this is all just happening, and information is coming in very quickly. You have an update. What do you have?
Yeah, the update is a correction, because a senior U.S. official says that they have not confirmed exactly what hit Poland. They know that something happened, but they've not confirmed that it was a Russian missile. So obviously they need to be absolutely positive about what this was, given that whether it was deliberate or not, it still is a major issue. Something hit outside of Ukrainian territory, and it's the first time that that has happened in this war. So they're still working on it, we are still working on it, but it is not confirmation of what we're getting from Poland and from the Associated Press there, that it was a missile.
All right, that's important information, obviously. Exactly. Andrea Mitchell, we are getting more reaction in those, so let's go back to Molly Hunter, who is in Kyiv for us. Molly, what are you hearing?
Yeah, Chris, and just to be crystal clear, Polish officials, well, they have not given us any kind of confirmation, any kind of details about what exactly happened. They are calling this a crisis situation. So we are just getting more information from a cabinet minister in Poland who says due to the crisis situation, the prime minister has met with President Duda and ordered a meeting at the National Security Bureau. That we knew, Chris, because he tweeted that out about an hour ago. He continues to say any information that will be presented to the committee today will be later communicated to the public, if possible, to the fullest extent. So really warning people not to kind of go with anything too quickly. And then continues, I'm appealing to the public and to press not to publish unconfirmed information. Until then, we will comment on it and inform about it after the meeting that will be taking place right now. After the relevant information is presented by the services that will inform these events. So he is obviously seeing all of this conversation on social media and, of course, across the world's media right now about these reports and specifically about the Associated Press's confirmation of that. As you just heard from Andrea Mitchell, NBC News has not confirmed that, and we will get confirmation from the polls. We will not, that information will not be coming, necessarily from Kyiv or even from Brussels. It will likely be coming from Warsaw. I do just want to give our audience a little bit more context about the west of the country, about Lviv. As we've been talking, Chris, really that big western city has been spared the kind of destruction that a city in the east like Kharkiv has seen, or even the damage to infrastructure around the capital city. But there are power plants, there are power stations, there is serious critical infrastructure around Lviv. And it was targeted heavily today. This, as we discussed, was the biggest, broadest aerial campaign that Russia has unleashed on this country since the start of the war. And tonight, 80% of Lviv is without electricity. One person in that western city was injured because of rocket fire. Trams, trolley buses, nothing is working that requires electricity. There are rolling blackouts. So just to be crystal clear, that city was heavily targeted today. And the city that we are talking about in Poland, the village, I should say, that is being reported in Polish press, is just across the border, is very, very close to this big western Ukrainian city.
Ali, let me turn to you because it's not just drama on the Senate side. We saw some today go down on the House side there. Yeah. We've long known that Kevin McCarthy has his eye on the House speakership if Republicans take back the House. And let me just, by the way, the other huge news, like we still haven't even called the balance of power in the House of Representatives here at NBC News, right? We think Republicans have the math, it seems. I get this is a super confusing graphic. The bottom line is Republicans only need a few more seats to be able to officially have control of the House of Representatives. TBD on when that'll happen. We think like not too long at this point. But Kevin McCarthy was challenged. He had his own internal challenger on the House side. He got something like 188 votes of support, which sounds good until you think about the fact he's going to need 218 to actually become the speaker when the real vote, not just the symbolic vote, happens in January.
Yeah, and January is a long ways away, Hallie, especially in political time. So Kevin McCarthy, what we see in that vote is the fact that he's going to need to do some dealing among the members of his conference to actually get to that requisite 218 number. And today really is the story of bad blood within these parties, not just because it's a Taylor Swift concert buying day, but also because that's been the story of the Republican Party reckoning with itself right now, frankly. The fact that they are looking at a House election that a week out has not yet been called, flipping the House was supposed to be the easy part. There are many within this conference that are huddled right now, 3 hours in, right next door to me, talking about who the right person is to lead them and what the right messaging is to actually move forward. They are acting as if they have already won the majority. It makes sense as to why that graphic that you put up is our projection as to what's going on here. But at the same time, the fact that these leadership elections do not show conclusively that McCarthy has coalesced the party around him does represent, again, the ideological divides within the Republican conference. And there are going to be consequences to that. When you have majorities that are as slim as the one that is likely on your screen, that means that this is going to be a perpetual balancing act. We have watched the way that Pelosi has operated with a matter of 6 or 8 seats over the course of these last 2 years. It has been a consistent herding of cats trying to keep her caucus unified on the key policy priorities that they wanted to get done. Now we're going to watch Kevin McCarthy most likely end up doing that over the course of the next 2 years himself. But I think it's really important that you reference that today is sort of a blueprint for what we are going to see him build upon as they move closer to January. He needs to hit that magic 218 number then. It was sort of a metric for how powerful he is right now, the number that he got today. Now we have to see him actually hit that number come January.